This was a gift. I have more knives that you twats have sent me. I mean, and the worse I am, the more gifts I get. Again, how's your program working out? Why do you think that is? Now, there's a bunch of theories. We got a couple of PhD psychologists. They have this bullshit theory. Is anybody in this room old enough to remember EST? The program EST?
Yes.
Okay, but you're not that old.
No, but it became landmark form. They bought the technology from Werner Werhard.
Yeah. I knew him back in the day. Anyway, EST, they bring you in a room, and the programs, they had different programs, but 3, 4, 5, 7 days, and you stay in the same room, and you couldn't leave, and you had a shit in the room, and I mean, you couldn't take a bath, and they used to, the one that I went to turned in just about basically a sex orgy. It was an excuse for a sex orgy, which I'm not into that kind of shit. I'm into a lot of sex, but not in front of 40, 50 people, you know. But a lot of the guys couldn't get it up because 40, 50 people were watching. I had no problem getting it up, you know. 4,000, 40, 4, or 1. I'm the same, okay? But why do you think I get these gifts? Why?
To court favor with you, sir?
I don't even know them, though. So, half of them are anonymous. That's the thing I forgot to put on. Half of them are anonymous. Yes, sir.
Because what you teach works?
Yeah. Correct. It's their way of, I don't want to say giving back because I hate using that phrase. You accuse me of it, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, because it works. Because it works. I get share certificates in companies. I don't know where they are. I get $50, $100 bills. And I treat them like dog shit. And you've been nice to them. For the most part. Maybe not nice. By the way, you know the word nice, the derivative of the word nice? It's a 13th, 14th century Anglo-Saxon word that means retarded, imbecile, moron. And now what does nice mean? When my mother used to say, well, I got a nice girl. Well, I don't want to meet any nice girls. Please. You know, I got a nice girl for you to go out with. And I used to laugh. Just because I wanted to be a priest doesn't mean I treat the girls like I was a priest. Of course, now, this is before all the sexual bullshit in the Catholic Church came out, you know. Back in those days, even though it was still going on, it wasn't on the front pages, you know, 50 years ago. But I certainly didn't want any nice girls. That's the last thing. I wanted a girl that could suck the chrome off a trailer hitch. Flat, period, boom. That's it. That's it. I mean, and I was never in love, but I was plenty in lust. Now, why? Now, listen, we're gonna pivot from the gifts because it works, and they can't really curry favor because I don't know who the fuck they are, and we rarely send thank you notes, rarely. Once in a while, you know, and if the gift is with a long sob story. And we've done some things. There was a girl that had spinal bifida or something, and about 20 or 30 or 40% of the requests we get are bullshit. It's like Nigerian chain letter, you know, it's bullshit. So, but one of these people a couple of years ago actually touched the place that I should have a heart in, and so we tracked her down to find out if she was for real, and she was for real. We talked to her surgeons, her doctors, and she's going to die. She needed a special chair, and here in this country, the National Health Service wouldn't pay for the chair, and so we bought the chair. And sometimes when we track them down, they're dead by the time I verify they're for real. But investigate before you invest. Investigate before you invest time or money. Investigate before you invest. That's what I learned from the Onassis people, one of the things. I learned many, many things. And so we got her a chair, and then she sent me a really nice note. And Why is it that people, whether you're 50 years old or 20 years old or 15 years old, where did what's the derivation of wanting to give back come from? Where did that load of shit, in my opinion?
Guilt.
Fucking man. Praise fucking Allah. You fucking right. Guilt, you sorry, spineless twats. That's the only reason. Fucking guilt. Now that's unusual. Normally you come up with a bunch of shit, but that's the first seminar that I've asked that question where the answer came out of the mouth correctly. That's the only reason. And who put the fucking guilt on you? We know. The same reason that your kids aren't programmed for success.
Parents.
Thank you. You sound like Hitler to me. I know, but you're Slovenian, but you could be Hitler. A bald Hitler, a skinny bald Hitler. And by the way, another misnomer, another misconception, another one of the great myths that we dispel here, high performance doesn't mean you're a good person. Adolf Hitler's on my wall here. He is arguably probably one of the most high performance persons that's ever walked on the motherfucking planet. Adolf. High performance means you get people to do the shit that you want them to do when you want them to do it. It's also AKA leadership. But they do it for guilt. You're nice. Now I use the word nice, and I told you what nice means. But now you're a good person, and you want to give back because out of guilt. And it's gone back 100 years, nobody gave a shit. Or I won't say nobody gave a shit, but very few people gave a shit. They weren't guilty. But now in 100 years, you've got 4 or 5 generations, depending on how you count, of guilt. There was guilt about after the war to end all wars, which was World War I. It wasn't the war to end all wars, as we well know. We had the Second World War, and we'd have 4 or 5 skirmishes, stroke wars since then. And someplace on the planet, 24/7, 365, there's a war going on with somebody, someplace. There just is. And we do it out of guilt. Well, the QLA is not a guilt-ridden program. And for those of you that have been involved in a 12-step program like Alcohol Anonymous or Drug Anonymous, whatever those programs are, and you say, my name's Dan, I'm an alcoholic, you get up there and you blah, blah, blah. And then 4 months later, I know I've had 22 days sobriety or 3 hours sobriety, whatever. Then you come back 4 or 5 months later and you say, hi, my name's Dan, and the universal, like your dad's going to do when you ask him if you're on purpose or not, I slipped. And then they all come up and give you a big hug. It's all right, you slipped, and now you got 6 hours sobriety. There are no slippage in this fucking program. And I should have said this yesterday morning, but I'm going to say it now. Some of you, if not all of you, are going to be on the borderline, whether you get thrown out of the program or not, as the days and weeks go by. And I have not 100% photographic memory, but almost 100 photographic memory. And when I say you're on the borderline, and then I'm going to think, well, let's see. How many times was he late to class? Did he participate in class? How illiterate was his homework? How many times did I catch him smoking out when he should have been watching the movie? And then I decide whether you're in or out. So this is all encompassing. It's just not you getting a strike. Because some of you, everything's not black and white. Some of you will be on the border. How many times did I put on the top of your homework, ask and answered, fucking retard? That means the questions you're asking me, I answered, and they've been asked either on a Zoom call or in the class. Or sometimes you'll forget, you'll write a report, and then 3 reports later you'll ask me the same fucking question. And then if I put just no comment, that's as good as a strike, but it's not a strike. That means I got about 10, 15, 20 sentences into your report. It was so fucking worthless, I couldn't read it. So it's all-encompassing. All-encompassing. You saw my good friend Steve last night, right? Every day it's going to be a bigger asshole. What's the takeaway of Mr. Jobs?
Ruthless.
Yes, sir.
Doesn't care about anyone but himself. His decision is always right, and his mindset that he's doing something great.
He may be right, but he's never in doubt. I may be wrong, but I'm never in doubt. Yes, sir.
Dream over anything, just as he did it over his daughter.
These guys aren't big on child support or whatever. When you have when you get a divorce and you pay for the kids and that kind of shit. Normally you have to go to court to get the money out of them. And he didn't want to admit that was his kid until he thought she was smart. Yes, sir.
I think it was. I'm sorry, I lost the man. Steve Jobs didn't want to give other people control. He didn't understand why other people would allow people to have.
He was a control freak. It's a common attribute with these guys, but that's one of the things I don't have, as I'm not a control freak, because I realized that a long time ago, and partially because I was with the Onassis people, and I saw how they did it well, and then I saw how they did it poorly at the Vatican. They give everybody control, and they're all fucking going crazy. So I saw it done poorly. My experience in the Army, you can't run an army without delegation. So the control freaks, and some of you admit in your paperwork that you sent me, you don't say that you're a control freak, but based on how you answer the questions, you're a control freak. And you can't run this system effectively being a control freak. What else about Steve?
He kept hitting.
Pardon?
Sorry, he kept hitting the road there, and always a new idea. If it wasn't working, he was persistent. Just kept hitting the pavement and trying something new. Kept
pulling himself off the ground. Yeah.
Completely framed his own reality. Didn't matter whether it was right or not, such as with the Time magazine.
People ask why President Trump always doubles down, triples down, and never says he's sorry, never admits a mistake. CNN especially. Because almost all the guys are the same. I'm not speaking for the president, but I'm sure that President Trump knows when he steps on his dick. Other than it hurts. I mean, I know that he knows. But his base, people like myself, realize that, nobody's perfect. It's like the stuff I said about Napoleon Hill. Nobody's perfect. And I've known about a lot of stuff about Napoleon Hill for a lot of years. Somebody finally wrote a book about it. And it doesn't make Think and Grow Rich a bad book. It's still an iconic book. How he got the information for Think and Grow Rich is a whole other subject matter. But it's an iconic book, and the book fucking works. So that doesn't take anything away from the book. Whether he got the information from Andrew Carnegie or not doesn't really make a shit. It's just as when W. Clement Stone came to him and we need a gimmick to sell whole life insurance, and they come up with personal development. Well, now, when you think about it, that was genius. And I've got all kind of people on YouTube tell me, well, you can measure personal development. And then they give your bank account. Well, money's not important though, guys. If you use personal development to go out and make a lot of money, it's not the personal development. It's how do you measure whether you're a better person now or a worse person now? But the book is still iconic. And Napoleon Hill, nobody should ever take that away from him. Some of the other things, the success and all that other shit he wrote, is really, to me, redundant because his 3 books or 4 books all say about the same thing. There's nothing different. What else about Steve? Yes, sir.
Like Bezos, Musk,
President Trump, he would expect nothing less than perfection from his staff.
Never lowered his expectations.
And when I hammer you when you do your first report, and you're going to be so proud, you're going to think you're wearing a new suit, Easter suit, and I rip it to shit because you're retarded. But it works. It works. Yes, sir.
Perfection paralysis. So it was bits when he was doing on the demo, each time something was going wrong. And obviously a lot of people would pull it. He was like, no, make it work. And the show carried on. So he didn't allow the kind of small, like, they were important details, but he kept going. And obviously that drove home, I think.
And the guys and the few gals, and they're high-performance gals too, they're not as well known as the guys, and there's not anywhere near as many of them. But Steve was an iconic guy, and he did change the world. Absolutely. He did change the world. And the current CEO, which we'll talk about in a couple of days, he calls people at 4:30 in the morning. That's when he starts Sunday morning, or actually Monday morning, Sunday night. And all these guys are the same. Success leaves clues. If they're all not like you, what in the fuck is that telling you? If you're not even a drop of sweat dripping down the left testicle of Steve Jobs, what in the fuck is that telling you? How is your program working out? Well, we all know it hasn't. But the key is, can you now do what you know it takes to be one of those kind of persons? That's the real question. And I can see it in your eyes. You're already questioning. Well, I don't know if I can do that. Fuck. I don't know if I can tell my wife, my girlfriend, my slag, whoever, well, I can't see you over the weekend, honey. I'm going to be working. I won't be here for Christmas, honey. They still call people honey? Anyway, whatever you call it, fucking slags. I don't give a shit what you call them. Anyway, we'll see. I know the answer. You don't even have to tell me. Most of you, I can see it in your eyes. I see fear in your fucking eyes. I can smell death in this fucking room. Now, if I was a rah-rah seminar guy, slappy happy, oh, you can all do it. No fucking sweat. You can all do it. That'd be a lie. And I know it's a lie, and yet we've got a year waiting list to get in this fucking room. But it's only for 0.0001% of the planet. I could send out tests. You reminded me of that Bulgarian moron that was here. We gave a few free seminars. We had contests to see if we could get what kind of response. And a kid from Bulgaria with, a smart kid, IQ-wise, he won it, and he was here. And he was the last test, a free seminar we gave away. He killed the program. He killed the program. Other than he was not retarded, but brain dead, more or less, brain dead. It's whether you can put it, implement, and execute out in the real world. Some of you will write the scripts on your hand, but your hands are going to be sweating so fucking much they'll run. When you get in and you try to look at your hand when you're talking to the guy, they'll run. The perspiration is so fucking thick on your hand, the words that you wrote in ink will run. I've had guys tell me that they touch the desk, they lean forward on the desk, posturing, and they leave ink on the fucking table. They're so nervous. We're going to continue. What else about Steve? Yes, sir.
He would set a deliverable in the future before it was accomplished, invite the press and an audience to the demo.
Not knowing if it would work or not.
Not knowing.
And that's exactly what I do. I put myself in a corner that either I'm going to die in the corner or I'm going to fight my way out. And you've been taught just the opposite. Plan B, C, D, whatever they are. Plan B is Plan A again. Plan C is Plan A again. Plan D is Plan A again. And some of the crazy things I've done with the buffalo and shit like that. What else about Steve?
He said, this is our brand. This is my brand, not our brand. He took ownership.
He took, that sounds very selfish to me, doesn't it? He took selfish ownership. What have I told you to be? Selfish. What have your parents told you to be? Not. Share your toys. Because your parents have guilt. And according to at least 2 or 3 of you, your parents have guilt because they had you. They're right about that. That may be the only fucking thing that your parents were right about. That we shouldn't have had them. And now that you know you can reverse engineer, these things should make them a lot clearer to you. We're not programmed for success. I wasn't programmed. The first time I made $2,000 in a day, in 1971, I made $2,000 in a day. I wasn't programmed for that. In today's dollars, that's about $12,000 in 2019. I wasn't programmed the first day I made $10,000, which is about $54,000 in today's money. And I sure as fuck wasn't programmed the first time I made 100 million in a day, pounds, which is 271 million pounds, which is about $400 million in a day. Actually, in a microsecond. Nobody programmed me for that. But getting super rich is easy. And your significant other, your wife, girlfriend, whatever, will get used to it easier than you. There's a pun there. They will get used to shitting money down a toilet a lot faster than you. And then the mother-in-law that you don't like and doesn't like you, I always know he had a quality. I just didn't know if he was, was going to come to the surface. When you know, almost all of you know that your mother-in-laws don't think that. Now, this kid was programmed for success. That's Tiger Woods when he's 3 years old on television. Tiger doesn't, and he had a bad stretch. We'll call it a bad stretch for about 10 years. And then, of course, when he won the Masters a few months ago. But started there. The Williams sisters, tennis players, are programmed for success. How did your parents program you for failure? Most people in this room, the most they did is your parents wanted you to get good grades. That's about the most. Get into the best schools you could, because they couldn't afford a real good school, so they wanted you to get good grades so you could get a scholarship of some sort. That's it. And what have good grades gotten you? And we have a couple of valedictorians in the room. Congratulations. What has it gotten you? Fuck all. We don't have anybody. Now, for the foreign schools, I don't really know if they were the Harvards or wherever you went. But I don't recognize any of the fucking names of anybody in this room that went to school. And I know all the Germans and the fucking Romanian, and I don't know the Bulgarian schools. I don't know those schools. But I know the schools. And we got no MITs, maybe, unless we don't. We don't have, So you got good grades to go to a mediocre school because your parents couldn't afford you to put you in a good school. And you weren't quite good enough to get a scholarship. That's about it, right? So how does their program work out? Okay, YouTube. See you later.